Are you ready? The Kornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Kornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Kornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our monthly show with Pia and Cullen, our beautiful soul family. We're here to talk about all things ascension, all things consciousness, all things new earth, and the crazy energies that we're experiencing and how to navigate these amazing times. Welcome to our show today. How are you?
Glad to be with you as always.
Hi, Cullen.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm mixed.
Mixed. All mixed up? Not you're just
This is the most interesting, most strange life experience I think I've ever undergone in the past few weeks, past few months. This is an absolutely mapless new experience.
We're actually spending a lot of time where we're not in 3D at all. I'm not sure where we are, but the terrain is totally different. So we are, we do what we're required to do here in 3D, but we're actually spending more and more time elsewhere that I can't define or give an address.
It's a little bit like being in a deep, deep meditation.
Yeah.
Where you know that you're still conscious, but you're not really living in a 3D experience in a place that you're used to or that's really quite familiar. It's a very interesting, different kind of experience. I keep saying this over and over again, different kind of experience. We know it's forward moving. We know it's all about ascension, but it's at the same time a little unnerving because we've simply never experienced this before, or at least,
how.
least,
Go ahead. Finish your thought process.
at least not in these bodies or not in these outer personalities. I'm sure we've experienced this before somewhere else, but it seems a little bit new to us here.
I think it's new for humanity. I don't think humanity's ever been at this frequency before. So I think it's new for anybody who's experiencing it.
Right. I feel the same way. And there are so many things that come to mind as we're talking about this, but one of the, how I like to sit down before we go live and just tune into what I want to bring up and what I want to talk about with you today. And one of the questions that I wrote is, why is it best to be okay with being uncomfortable?
Great question.
Really good question.
Why is it best to be okay with being uncomfortable? Because really, when you think about it, everything you just said, we are really uncomfortable in this new space we're in these new energies, right? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be an unpleasant experience. It's just a new experience. And probably it takes us a bit out of our comfort zone because we're all so used to doing the same thing. We get up in the morning, we prepare to do what we're going to do this day. We're thinking about what we're going to do the next day. And I'm not sure we can do that anymore. I think we have to be living in the moment, each moment, moment by moment.
Yes. And like when we because there's a collective
overwhelm people, feeling overwhelmed by all the changes that are coming, that all the changes that we're being prepared for. And those of us that have been doing that inner work and working to know how to have peace in the moment, how to be in your inner zen right now, regardless of what's going on in the world. That right there is a good place to be if you know how to do that, if you know how to be in your peace, if you know how to be in your zen, if you know how to be in your emotional neutral space after doing all of the work, so that you can be open to this new way and co-create from there. Right?
Yeah, I think that's a very good perspective of how to live within these changes and challenges, because as Pia said a moment ago, humanity has never been through this before. We of course have evolved over the eons of time that we've been here, but what we're going through now has never been available to us. The energies that are presenting themselves both from the earth and from the cosmos is a completely new, it's a new ball game. I don't really like using sports analogies, but it really is a new ball game. And I think we have to stay on our toes and be available for what comes our way. And for many, and I think especially in the collective, who hasn't been doing the work that you just described, that inner work, that shadow work, that fine tuning of our emotions, I think it's probably is now and is going to be a little challenging and maybe even terrifying for some people.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is, which is why it's even more important that those of us that have been doing the work, that have been, integrating this new way of living, to the best of our abilities, even though we don't know either. We don't know. It's like we said, there's no map, there's no blueprint on, what's next. It's really an open space for us to co-create, like you said earlier, in the moment.
Yeah, yeah. It's possible that the manual that we were supposed to bring with us to explain all this wasn't really given to us. And I think that's why we have to make our own way, because maybe we were supposed to come equipped with a manual, but it probably didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So here we are making our way. And I thought, what are the best ways? That's why I wrote the question, why is it best to be okay with being uncomfortable? And let's talk to the people that are, tuning into that have been with us during these times and that have been doing that inner work, because we're also uncomfortable. And I think part of our way right now is, that's why I'm saying being okay. Be okay with being uncomfortable. Like, don't look for the comfort. Don't even try to be comfortable. Forget about it. You can have moments, or carve out time of comfort where you can be comfortable, but be okay with being uncomfortable because of all the changes that are happening.
Well, what you're saying, Kornelia, is incredibly important, because the growth that we want to achieve, the growth zone that is necessary, probably has to come through discomfort, has to come through unfamiliarity, has to come through rocking the boat, so to speak. So actually what you're saying is entirely important for people to hear, because we will grow the most when there's the most adversity. We will grow the most when we're out of our comfort zone. And that's exactly where we need to be right now. So I think what you're explaining is absolutely, completely important for people to understand.
We're also getting completely out of our zone of familiarity with what this human body is expected to do, what it's going to feel like, because the energies on the planet are shifting and they're different. The cosmic frequencies that are coming in do not support the same environment that we have experienced for all of our lives. So therefore, the bodies that carry our consciousness also need to be okay with being uncomfortable, because they're changing. They're learning how to be more fluid, more flexible, how to accept nourishment in different ways rather than the ways we're accustomed to nourishing, how to rest in different ways instead of the ways we're used to sleeping. We're learning a lot of new things about how to have our consciousness in these changing forms. And that's another reason why it's really important to be okay with being uncomfortable, because if we're not okay with it, we're going to resist. And if we resist, it's going to get harder. So the more we stop the resistance, the more the flow will help us through this transition.
Yeah. And I agree wholeheartedly, Pia, with everything you said, because we're doing it differently. And, that's why one of the things that to be really good at is giving yourself what it is that you need. Right? Like really asking your inner self, what do you need right now? As far as that nourishment you were talking about, Pia, not coming from the mind, but really asking, what do you need right now? And then giving it to yourself.
Well, that has to also stretch beyond thinking what I need for nourishment is my favorite dessert.
I was just going to say, we're not talking about the need for ice cream here.
We're not.
We're talking about something that satisfies at a soul level so that the body can let go some of the tension. That's what we're talking about.
Like one of the things that I feel really good about is that on Mondays, I take the whole day away from social media, from the computer, from all of it, from time. I don't look at the clock. I don't deal with the clock. I don't look at any appointments, anything like that. So this is something that I've been working on to create that space for myself to do that on Mondays. And it feels so good. It feels so good. It feels so good to be away from all of that, right? And not have to, that's what I mean by giving myself what I need, is on that day, I'm away from all of the time things that we put upon ourselves that we have to do, the things that we have to do, and give myself permission to be away from all of that. And it just feels so good to do that.
It's excellent. It's excellent because we are overstimulated. There's so much stimulation in our modern society. We're bombarded with visual, auditory, and waves of things that we can't even see. We can feel them, but we can't see them. But we are absolutely bombarded on a minute to minute time understanding, and doing what you're doing on Mondays is absolutely the best thing to regenerate, the best thing to sink down into who we really are. That's excellent.
And we also do that. We add another element to it, though, and we don't do it on a schedule. We do it on when it feels like it's the appropriate time for us in our lives. And appropriate time for you is on Mondays. Appropriate time for us may be Friday one week and Monday another week. It depends. But we add another element, and that is silence. We go into deep meditative silence where we don't talk to each other. We don't talk to the outside world. We don't answer the phone. We don't do anything that requires thinking. So we're pulled away from the computer. We're pulled away from the stresses of demands. We're pulled away from all of that. And we're also pulled away by our own choice to be in silence, pulled away from all the noise. And it is an amazing experience. We once did this for 21 days, and wow, was that an amazing 21 days. We don't do it for that long anymore right now currently, but we do it pretty regularly. We're thinking about doing a day like that tomorrow.
Oh, good. Oh, good. You know, I
Yeah.
think it's so helpful to bring that balance in. And that's
Mhm.
why I like doing it on Mondays, because what's the opposite? What are other people doing on Mondays? What are the
Mhm.
people doing on Mondays? Everyone is really running. People are stressed out on Mondays, all the things. So I like to do the opposite of what they're doing to bring in the balance.
That's something else, that doing something that the regular mainstream is not doing. That's a really good thing. We imply that particular principle every time there's a time change. When all the world is setting their clock back, which they're about to do in the United States this weekend, when all the
Forward.
world forward, whether it's forward or back, whatever it is, when the world is doing that, and on Saturday night they're setting their clocks, we've already set ours back several days ahead of time so that we're not in that sluggishness, that adjustment of the time zones. We've already made our adjustment before it happens. So
That's a good
we
idea. Yeah, that's a really good idea to do that.
And
Yeah. Go ahead, Colin.
what we also employ something else. We get up extremely early in the morning, and we do it for several reasons. One reason is because we talk to people around the world in different time zones, we have to be up really early to catch some of those people in those particular time zones. But there's something else about getting up really early.
Mm.
If we're awake in our time zone, wherever that is we're living, particularly in the world at the time, we don't have to deal with as much psychic energy because people generally, the mass of the population isn't awake yet. And we have a clear time where there isn't so much chaos in the airwaves. And that is also extremely helpful because we can have our own thoughts, we can have our own timing without being connected to everybody else. And that's a little bit like what you just explained about choosing Mondays. When people wake up in the morning, they start getting revved up immediately, and the psychic energy just explodes.
Mhm.
So if we can be up early, a couple of hours, or maybe even more than a couple, maybe 3, before other people are up, there's a sense of quiet. There's a sense of serenity. There's a sense of stillness that Pia talked about a moment ago. And that is also really helpful for rebalancing.
That's one of the reasons why I like to go for my 90-minute walk at 5 o'clock in the morning, no matter
Yeah.
what season we're in, is because, call me selfish. I like to experience the quiet and peace. I don't want to have to share my energy at the time with other human beings, like when you're seeing them on the street, like when you're walking on at a different time in your day. But I like to have it. I like to have nature in that time, that quiet time to myself, and communicate with nature during that time and just be in silence. And I love that part. So this is the reason why I think it's important that, for each person to know what it is that you need. And we're not talking about sugar, we're not talking about ice cream. We're talking about giving yourself what it is that you need, especially now, Pia, with Saturn moving into Pisces,
Mhm.
right? Saturn in Pisces, and Colin, one of your favorite words, is going to come up to the discussion, and that is discipline. Hello, right? We need to really now. That's, I think, part of our day to day. Is
It is. It is. Don't get me started.
no. Let's get you started. Let's get you started. Let's get you started. Let's get you, because I think discipline is a key thing for us right now, with Saturn in Pisces with no boundaries. And, because we could be floating, we're in water, we could be just floating around but we need to bring back the discipline. And that's another word I wrote down today. And that's why I know that this is a really good conversation to have, to talk about.
I would say rather than bringing back the discipline, we need to change the form of discipline. As Saturn moves into Pisces, it's not going to be as structured as it has been. As you just said, it's free floating, unbounded in a water sign. So that means that discipline needs to be in harmony with its environment. That doesn't mean that we don't have anything that we have to put boundaries on. It means that our boundaries need to be more fluid with what we're meeting moment by moment by moment. So our discipline means, let's say a friend comes over and offers us a box of cookies, and we have decided that we don't want any sugar in our lives at all. In that moment, there's a way to accept the gift from the friend in that moment, but not choose to eat the cookies. Just say thank you for your thoughtfulness and then give them to someone else who doesn't have the same requirements that you do. So discipline needs to be more flexible, not, oh, well, they gave it to me, so I have to eat it. I have to make it feel good. There's a different form of discipline when Saturn moves into Pisces. So we're not going back into old discipline of these are the rules and this is what we have to do. We're going to have to find our discipline from what our hearts tell us to do. What is the heart guiding you? What does the body truly need? Those are the elements that need to form our discipline.
Flexibility is really, really important in this discussion about discipline. Discipline is a balancing element. It's something that can help us stay on track. It doesn't have to be a demanding OCD sort of thing where we have to be sure that we do everything exactly the way we've done it in the past or how we should do it. It's more like what Pia just described, keeping discipline as a guideline, keeping it as something that we don't forget about. We just came through the holiday season, and people always say, I shouldn't eat cookies, or I shouldn't eat candy, or I shouldn't do these things because I really don't want to eat sugar, or I don't want to eat gluten, or whatever the element is that we don't want to take into our bodies. And people say quite often, well, but it's the holiday season, it's okay. I can do it for a couple of weeks and it won't really hurt me. Well, that's letting go of the guiding spirit of discipline, knowing that momentary pleasure is worth toxifying the body, which it certainly is not. So discipline can be a really wonderful guiding light without it being an absolute controlling situation. And I think discipline keeps us on the right track. I think it keeps us going in the direction we want to go in. And we can be a little lenient about it, but not do things that are truly not good for us.
Which takes us to the other connected word to discipline, which is responsibility. We have to be responsible for staying in harmony with the energies that are here and the path that we have determined we want to walk. If we're wanting to walk the path of the ascension process, then we have to honor what that path requires, remain flexible with the energies as they come in, and be self-responsible for every choice we make.
And every person pretty much knows what that is, because
yes.
You know what it is. You totally know what it is. And think about this, we feel best when we are in our disciplined routine. I'm not talking about rigidity, but I'm talking about like what you just shared, being flexible, but being with the cookie analogy, with somebody offering you cookies after you made the decision that you don't want to eat cookies or sugar anymore. That's when you really feel at your best, when you are when you're creating that type of environment, because we're not feeling best when we're toxifying our body over and over and over and over again. That's not when we're feeling our best. I feel best when is the journal prompt. I feel best when, right? And really, once you start that, I feel best when bread is gone, when sugar is gone. I feel best when I'm in my walking routine. I feel best when. So, really determining when you feel best and then, creating that environment for yourself. That's what to do.
We can also add a few more adjectives. I feel best where I am. I feel best how I'm being, how I am. We can add a few more words to that too.
Who I choose to spend time with is a big one.
Yep.
Is a really big one. I want to go back a couple of sentences. I think the element of courage is a very close relative of discipline. I think we have to have the courage to stay in a disciplined way of living our lives, because it's so easy to be tempted. I mean, we've used the cookie analogy, but there are many, many other analogies we could use. We are tempted every day by friends, loved ones, advertising,
Internet streaming.
You name it. We are tempted to do things that, as you said, Kornelia, we know deeply in our hearts, we don't really want to go down that road. We really don't want to do that again. But the temptation is there. And that little feeling of, oh, it would make me feel better if I do this.
Or I want to take care of them because they'll get their feelings hurt if I don't do this with them.
And so I think courage is equally important as discipline. I think they go together.
Yeah, so I think having that awareness right away as you're beginning this new discipline routine. Discipline is going to take courage because you will be tempted in your uncomfortableness, being okay with being uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable here. And yes, and now we're creating new routines, the day by day, because like you said earlier, when we started this show, Cullen, that we don't know how to be in this day by day because we're living moment to moment now. And there's just a lot happening and a lot going on. And, like you said, many people will most likely be challenged. And then there are those people that will create structures that will support their thriving environment, that will support a thriving environment. And all of those tests that come, because the tests will come. They will come.
They will indeed continue to come. If we're still here doing the work we came here to do, those tests will continue to show up. There's no doubt. There is no doubt.
Yeah, I like that you brought in the word courage. It's a big one. It's a big one. It takes a lot of courage to say no and stand up for yourself, even towards the self, even, when that you have that own little voice, oh, this is going to make me feel good, or this is the thing, or whatever, and to override that. So we talked a little bit about Saturn in Pisces. That's going to be, how long is Saturn going to be in Pisces? A few years, Pia, now?
3 years.
3 years. Yeah, 3 years. And so then we've got, that's happening today. That shift is happening today because today is the full moon in Virgo. So we're talking about, creating a better living environment, being okay with uncomfortableness. Go ahead, Cullen.
Absolutely. Well, we're in a string of, speaking of the moon, of 7 full moons that are, what's the phrase?
Supermoons.
Supermoons. Thank you, Pia. So we're actually in a phase of more potent moons than we normally experience. Seven supermoons in a row is a tremendous energetic difference from normality. So
what does that mean? Physiologically, it means the moon is closer to Earth. Emotionally, it means everything's going to come to the surface that needs to be healed and cleansed. So we are going to have to welcome it, be uncomfortable with it, let the emotions come to the top and tell us what they're telling us because they have a message, and just know that it's all on purpose.
I think this is another important piece to know that it's coming. This is happening. These super moons, more things are being brought up, so that you can develop a strategy to, again, stay true to yourself and don't sabotage yourself in this next while. Like we were talking about with having courage to not emotionally eat then, to try to make yourself feel better because of whatever was presented.
And the moon in Virgo is very much involved with healing. The energy of Virgo is aligned with health. So when these emotional places come up, it's the opportunity for us to heal whatever has caused the pain, the discomfort, the trauma. It's an opportunity for us to reevaluate the choices we're making, physically, mentally, emotionally, all of it. So a supermoon with all this potent energy in Virgo is really a gift during these turbulent times to help us heal what is out of balance.
Yeah, I look at Virgo as the body, the physical body. And, Virgo is the Mother Earth. It is part of our, our natural humanity, right? And it's up to us to create the environments that we want to live in our physical bodies, in our homes, on this planet, right? So, like you used the word earlier, which is another one of Cullen's favorite words, is responsibility. We are responsible for our human vessels to make sure that we tend to them and care for them the way that the mother would have us do.
Mm-hmm. All these terms we're talking about and sharing are all interconnected. They're all coming to the forefront for one particular reason. Humanity has basically, over time, been pretty much asleep. We haven't really taken the advantages of waking up, making the right choices, creating a unified society, creating a unified population, taking care of the earth. I'm sorry to have to report that I don't think we've done a very good job. I don't think we learn very well. And there are many examples that I could cite, which we don't have time for. But I think all of these things, I think responsibility, determination, courage, discipline, I think they're all related because those are the things we need to use right now to change the way we've been doing things. And if we're successful at using all of these tools, all of these ways of changing the way we as the species that is the apparent controlling factor on this planet at this time, if we use all of these ideas, ideals, and energies, that is simply the way we're going to create what we want. We're going to create a unified field. We're going to create a new earth. We're going to create a more responsible way of dealing with everything. And if we do this successfully, we're going to create the highest good for all. And that is what we need to do, because we've pretty much made a big mess out of our environment, both physically, emotionally, mentally. We have really not done a very good job. So what I'm trying to say here is all of these elements we're talking about today all go hand in hand with changing how we've done things and really creating what we want that's good for everyone, every living being, whether it's a tree, a plant, a human, a dog, a cat, an elephant. What we're talking about is being responsible to really create the best environment for all of us together.
And that time period that we're in right now, this is, I think, my greater being showed me the next 3-year period. So I think 2023, 2024, 2025, during this time, when I was looking at the year, it all of a sudden it was like open that up more. 2023, 2024, 2025. So I think during these next 3 years, this is our responsibility now, to create from that what you just talked about, to do a better job, to what you've always talked about, do no harm to another. What you and Larkma have always taught us on how to do no harm, to bring that to the forefront, and to make that as part of our practice, our daily life.
It's essential.
It is. It's the most important thing, truly, that we could be doing right now. We need to be unified. We need to step up our everything. We need to work together to really create what we've all been waiting for. And we have to stop waiting. We have to create.
Yeah. And here's the thing, we're uncomfortable. And we're okay with it. That's also the other thing, is that because you can go ahead then and relax your physical body in being, when it's uncomfortable, and know that, this is how it is now. And so that you can give yourself permission that it is uncomfortable, and things will test you, and you will be required to use that courage. When you were talking about courage, I was getting a flash of stickers, courage stickers. Put a courage sticker here, put courage everywhere. Courage. When the tests come, boom, here's the courage sticker. When tests come, remind yourself of, you have the personal power inside of yourself to be able to override the habitual patterns of the past, and that you can do this, right? We can do this.
Not only can we
must.
It's our responsibility to do it.
And we are doing it.
Yeah.
We're here.
Yeah. I think, coming up with, this is the next thing that I wanted to bring up, with Pluto moving into Aquarius.
Yes, Aquarius.
So that's happening right on the equinox, right? Like the day after or something? Or the day before?
March 23rd. So it happens a couple of days after that.
So a couple of days. So what does that mean for us, Pia?
Yeah, it means we're moving into freedom, rebellion, standing up for our rights, and moving away from structure, control, manipulation, all of the things we've been living under for the last 17 years. It's going to be a whole new world, because we're going to be not willing to take whatever we're told is the truth, not willing to do what we're told to do as good little boys and girls. All that stuff that we've been experiencing for the last 17 years under Pluto and Capricorn is going to go away. We suddenly just won't be in the mood to do that anymore, which I hope means that we're going to stick together to co-create a better world through a sense of community. But it means a lot more freedom. It means a lot more rebellion. And that can come in any form, rebellion can come peacefully or it can come violently. I think there's so many people who don't want violence that we have a good opportunity for having rebellion in a peaceful way. That there's a good hope for that.
What's your take, Colin?
Well, I would agree completely with what Pia just said. And I would add that unfortunately, this movement of Pluto out of Capricorn on the 23rd of March is only going to last for about 2.5 months.
It lasts till June the 11th.
And it will retrograde back into Capricorn until January of 2024.
So it's giving us a taste of what's coming. It's giving us a way to wade into the water gently before we're fully into something so completely different.
It's a preview. It's actually going to be a preview to give us hope. It's going to be a preview to show us what's possible and begin the process. And then it will waver back into Capricorn for about 6 months from June until January. And then it will go full steam ahead from January of 2024 for 22 years. And in those 22 years, we will have the opportunity to change everything that's been holding us back, everything that's been about war, poverty, hunger, disillusionment, lies. We will have the opportunity and the chance to turn all of that around in those 22 years.
Capricorn is an earth sign, and we've been very grounded while Pluto has been in Capricorn. Everything has been about what's happening on earth. What do we feel? What are our structures? What is our reality based on how we live on this planet? Aquarius is an air sign. So this is going to be more about lightness, higher vibration, movement with more freedom. It's going to be a whole different sense of being who we are.
It'll be more like a cosmic atmosphere than a dense earthly atmosphere. I think that's the best way to explain it. It'll be airier and more lofty. It won't be so controlling and dense. It'll be a completely different environment, a completely different feeling.
It reminds me of personal power over your mental body, what you're saying, because air, right? The thoughts, and Pluto, personal power, right? So claiming your personal power over your thoughts.
Well, it's going to be claiming our personal power over everything, starting with how we feel. Let the heart lead the thoughts. Let that be the guiding light, which is going to be very different from being captured by the mind the way we have been.
Which will actually do exactly what you just suggested, exactly what you just brought up. It will make that possible for the first time in a long time.
Yeah. So it reminds me also, like last year, 2022, with Jupiter moving into Aries for that short time that we had, for like that 2-month window. It moved into Aries, and then it went retrograded back into Pisces, right? And then now Jupiter is in Aries. I don't know for how long, but it reminds me of that. So we're getting a taste. So there's a lot of changes that is being presented to us so that we can create and do a better job in co-creating our heaven on earth, our peace on earth, our new bodies, our new life, all new, because we know that the ways of the past have not been sustainable, are not for us. So, here we are with many, many new beginnings. And that's why it's so important that we are gentle with ourselves, that we are kind to ourselves and each other, and that we take really good care of, ourselves in this process while doing the hard work. Because that's also the other thing, is we're going to be doing the hard work. We're doing the hard work, meaning that, like, even to myself, I had wrote one of my things that I'm going to do one thing that I consider hard. And, working on the ascension timeline is hard enough. That's that's already hard. It's not like, you know, we haven't been doing the heavy lifting for years and years and years and years. Let me just say that. But I said, okay, I'm going to do one hard thing that I consider hard every day. One hard thing. I'm going to do one hard thing every day. And that's something that I'm doing because I'm getting prepared for I'm getting myself prepared for doing this hard work. When in reality, I would really just like to go sit down by the river for the next 2 years and watch the river flow. So, but that's not possible right now.
Well, a few minutes ago, you brought up one of my favorite words, and that's kindness. That we need to, in this process, not only do we need to claim all the hard hitters, the courage, the responsibility, the discipline, but we really need to also remember the power of kindness, because we need to be kind to everyone we meet. We never know how much somebody else is suffering or what their story is, what their challenges are. So it's really very important that kindness take precedence over any reactivity, any choices that we may make to shut people down or judge them. Kindness needs to come to the forefront as we're doing this heavy work of co-creating.
Absolutely. And Kornelia, you also brought something up a moment ago about new beginnings. And that reminds me that this next year is all about endings. This next year is all about controls, regulations, things that have kept us from truly wanting to be and being our true selves. This next year is going to be about all these things that have controlled us to come to an end. And with all endings, there always has to be the equal and opposite movement of new beginnings. So I see when Pluto leaves Capricorn for the 20 odd years that I described, we're going to be seeing new beginnings all around us. We are going to be seeing the availability of this newness, that newness, a tremendous amount of newness that will come to us. And I'm seeing that as an amazing, amazing new availability of what Pia said earlier, freedom, sovereignty, and just being able to be okay in who we really are. So these endings are really going to make a big difference in our personal and collective lives.
And when people hear the word ending, a lot of times they take a deep breath in and go and hold their breath. But you have to remember it's a circle. Every time there's an ending, there's a new beginning. It's an Ouroboros. It's the snake that eats its own tail. It's a never-ending pattern of energy. So all of these endings that we're having are also simultaneously bringing new beginnings. And that needs to be remembered.
Yeah, it needs to be remembered and also celebrated, because here we are on planet Earth at this time, at a time where we don't even know how to do things per se. What we were talking about earlier, we've never done this before, with so much change, so many things happening at the same time. And here we are in our creator state of being, fully accepting responsibility for co-creating our new Earth, a new Earth that we're leaving, for the children, we're co-creating it now. How do we want it to be? How do we want it to be? We want it to be kind. We want it to be peaceful. We want it to be loving. We want to create environments where we can thrive, not set up toxic environments. I think it's important to remember the big vision of where we're going, while at the same time, we're the ones that are making the choices every single moment, every day, and that we have our daily practices. We know what it is that we can do on a daily basis to make this world a better place.
Absolutely. When I think of the new Earth, I can distill all of the ideas that I have in my heart down to one word. And that one word is equal. Just equal in all ways.
That's wow. Now that's a vibration that if you have brought it to that place where you are right now, just equal, and that's a vibrational state of being that you're vibrating out to all of us. So thank you for doing that, for sending those waves out of equality, just equal. I like that. Yeah. So here we are. We have just a few minutes left. Let's let everybody know how they can look at your website, Pia, and look at more of all the things that you're doing. Are you doing any workshops upcoming? What are you up to?
No workshops, a lot of personal sessions for people. LARCMA is helping people through this time by looking at what shadows and blocks they have in their cellular memory and helping them work through it. So we're doing a tremendous amount of personal sessions with LARCMA, and people can find that at LARCMA, LAARKMAA.com. And they also do evolutionary evaluations, showing people where they are on their path and what they need to do to move forward and not be stuck. So both of those are taking up quite a bit of our time. And then on my website, Pia Orleane, PIAORLEANE.com, there is a section on all of the things that I offer. And I'm doing alternative health consultations. I'm doing dietary consultations for the Ascension diet to get people's bodies aligned with the energies where they are, individual plans that are governed for each particular person's needs. And of course, I do the Pleiadian Earth energy charts. So those are the main things that I'm focusing on, along with the work that Cullen and I do together with LARCMA.
Yes, because you also have your international calls that you're doing every Sunday. And so there's that. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of help out there for you if you are ready now to get serious in your life and, take the helm.
We're also doing a lot of writing right now. We're doing articles for magazines in Australia, the UK, Europe, US. We're doing a lot of magazine writing. We're putting up more blogs that are sharing what the energies are so that people can keep up with the energies and be inspired to follow them on the Pleiadian Earth Energy calendar and stop living their lives through schedules of time and start living their lives in the now moment by recognizing and learning to feel the energies. So we're trying really hard to help people move out of the old paradigm into the new paradigm so that all of this uncomfortableness we've been talking about for the last hour is dissipated and we move more into a state of flow and grace. That's our work. That's what we're trying to do.
There's a lot of information on both websites, but the LARCMA website really has a tremendous amount of information about the books that we have written with LARCMA, the calendar that we produce every year, the oracle cards that are now out for the public to look at. There's a tremendous amount of information, both current and archival. So it's really a fun look to actually look into what's available at that site.
How many books have you all written now? I was thinking about that this morning.
Well, Sacred Retreat, which was the Divine Feminine first, it was a bestseller in China, and then I had it republished here under a different title. That was the first one. And then we did the trilogy, the Wisdom from the Stars trilogy. That's 3 books. That's 4. And then I did Exit Plan, which is 5. And we did the Pleiadian Earth Energy Astrology book, which is 6, which is all about living with energy instead of time. That's 6. And I wrote a novel also that's now out of print. So that would be 7 so far.
Did you mention Remembering Who You Are?
That's one of the trilogy books. Yes.
That's the trilogy.
That's amazing work. Thank you so much for doing all of this good work for us here on the planet.
We're just given the inspiration and we have to follow our hearts to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Carving out time for yourself as well as showing the new way and being the models and the examples, because that's who we are. We are showing the way. We are carving our paths. We are pioneering our new earth. We are the pioneers. Here in the town where I live, there is a park called Pioneer Park, and it's right next to the Rainbow Bridge. And I live directly, like I can look out of this window right here and see the Rainbow Bridge. So I'm always reminded of where I am, right? It's like, here's Pioneer Park, here's the Rainbow Bridge. Sometimes when I drive over the bridge, I'm thinking, okay, so I'm driving, leaving the 3D behind. I'm driving into over the Rainbow Bridge to the 5D. I'm driving over. So any type of practices that we can do to release and let go of all the 3D limiting programs, structures, habits, patterns, everything that's no longer serving us. This is a perfect time with this full moon in Virgo to release and let go, and step into the new. We know it's going to be comfortable. We know it's not written, because we're writing it. We're creating it. So we're the ones. That's why it's so important to remember who it is that we are, because we're doing it consciously and we're doing it responsibly. And it's our job to do that because we signed up for it. We're here.
That's right.
So taking all of that and creating this next month until I see you guys again, which we're going to be together again in the first week in April. And I want to thank all our listeners. If you're watching this video on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because this always helps us to create more content, and then also gets it to the people that are looking for this information. So, Pia and Cullen, final words for today?
Kindness, love, and courage.
And what the treat that we're all going to be given in the next month is going to give us more hope. We're going to actually see hope surfacing that we haven't seen for a very long time.
That's good. I really like that, because, all of us too have felt stalled in some of our manifestations of what it is that we want to manifest. There hasn't been that forward movement, but it's been happening in here, hasn't it? It's been happening inside the body. So now we can start seeing those things materialize, that hope that you're talking about, Colin. And that's going to be, it's magical. And that's what we need to remember, that magic is happening now as we're releasing and letting go, going lighter, and also doing the hard work, because those are my final words. Do one hard thing every day. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening and tuning in. We'll see you again next time. Take good care. Bye.
Bye-bye for now.